So after we get to this point in our differential equation, we might be wondering, okay, it's all one series, but I don't know how to turn this into coefficients, which is the thing I need to solve for. And so I wrote out a couple steps just about setting these coefficients. So remember that for these second order equations, we can only have two unknowns. So this entire process is just about finding relationships between the coefficients so that we can turn it into only like two c's. So what we're going to do is we're going to use stuff outside the series. To build relationship 1. And then we'll use stuff inside the series to build relationship 2. So by stuff inside, I mean this, and by stuff outside, I mean this. Sorry, swap it. Stuff outside here, stuff inside here on that one. And everything I wrote down is equal to 0. So I'm basically just setting those two different groups of things equal to 0. I'll set what's outside equals 0, and I'll set what's inside equals 0. And then once I build those two relationships, I'm going to start from n equals 0. And I'm going to try to find Cn at that point, or C0 for n equals 0, following those two relationships. So I'll ask myself, is it given by R1? Is it given by R2? And if not, you're going to say C0 equals C0 or Cn equals Cn. And then once we've done that, we repeat the process for n equal 1, 2, so on and so forth. Until you have two unknown constants. So for example, that can look like C0 equals C0, C1 equals C1, or C0 equals C0, but then you find C1 is 0, so then you keep going until you hit C2 equals C2. But once you have those two unknown unknown constants, you can keep going in this process, but you'll never need to use this lower item. You will always be able to find future C's using R1 or R2. So we're going to continue for n equal, at minimum, it might be from 2. So on and so forth. And we're going to try to find them from R1, R2. So for example, we could be calculating C3, and we would use R1 or R2 which will be in terms of our unknown constants, which might be like C0 or C1. And then you're just going to keep repeating this, calculating as many coefficients as you need to until you can say some sort of pattern for how you would calculate any given coefficient you need. So in all these problems, R1, R2 are going to be the same formula every time that you're applying. So you'll end up getting the same types of terms every time you calculate a new coefficient. And eventually you'll know the rule like, oh, I always multiply by 2 to get the next one, or something like that. So those are the steps we follow. I'm going to pause the video again before I start solving coefficients because these problems get very long. So in the next video, we will actually finish that first example we started earlier in this set of videos.